Dave Fankhauser. I'm running for state legislature in the 23rd district, which is all of McMinn County and part of Monroe County, which is Tellico Plains primarily, but some of Madisonville and some of Von Orr. And the reason I'm running is democracy in money. I called it growing money in your hands last video. It's democracy in money is what I'm thinking needs to be corrected in America. And I'd like to go back and tell you the Mayflower story. The Mayflower story is probably one of the most incredible stories in the history of governing, and the primary reason why is it was all done in a different way. When the Pilgrims left and escaped England, they left behind a ruling royalty, kings, queens, a bureaucracy that told them what to do, that was owned by the king, and then they also left behind a church that told them how to worship. And when they came to America, they wanted to be free of the church leadership telling them what to do, and they wanted to be free of a king telling them what to do, that they believed that God, through them, could actually help them create something successful. So before they landed on Plymouth Rock, they actually voted in their governor. They had 6 weeks to think about it and voted in John Carver. And John Carver was their leader, but he was a citizen servant leader. He was a person that actually had leadership skills to help find God in the decisions that needed to be made for the government. The next thing that they established was that the elected leader would be separate from the church, that people could believe in God that the way they wanted and how they wanted to believe in him, and that the government or the church wasn't going to tell them how to believe. They also established that they would have the right or the freedom to achieve at the highest possible level that God would have for them, that no one could hold them down as they were held down in Europe in those aristocratic governments and by the church. They could achieve at their own highest levels. Next, they believed in a whole new kind of world. It was called capitalism. Now that isn't how it started. It actually started out as communism. When they came to the United States or to America, they had a belief that a communal system would work, that everybody would work equally and everybody would share equally. Well, for 2 years that didn't work and people were starving. So what William Bradford, the next governor, put in to the system was that he divided up land plots so that everybody could grow their own agriculture and they could keep whatever they produced and they wouldn't have to share it with anybody else. They were personally responsible for their own lives and for their families' lives, and it wasn't going to be a government or somebody else that was going to be sustaining them. Immediately, everybody got busy and they started to grow crops. Even the children went out and helped farm. That was the beginning of capitalism. And isn't that amazing? That took place 400 years ago, this coming winter. 400 years ago, they invented capitalism. And we are living in a nation based on that. The next thing that they thought about was unity. The Wampanoag Indians were actually a tribe that met them when they came within a short period of time after they stepped on Plymouth Rock. And then they helped them some, and then at one time the Wampanoag Indians got quite sick, and the American Pilgrims, or the Christian Pilgrims, went over and actually scraped the pus out of the Indians' mouths that were diseased and helped them recover. That's how America was founded, with people who had different beliefs, the Wampanoag Indians and the American Christians, and they worked together side by side. That's how America started. It didn't start with adversity, it started with unity. It started with cooperation. It started with teamwork. And we need that again today. The last thing that they did with the Indians, the Native Americans, was that the harvest that came in, that big first harvest, was shared with the Native Americans, and we call it Thanksgiving. That's what happened. Incredible, isn't it? Thanksgiving was birthed 400 years ago. Now, let's say there was a campfire back then, 400 years ago, and we had one fellow stand up and say, you know what? 400 years from now, in the year 2020, we're going to have a nation with 330 million people, and 35 million will be direct descendants of us 50, the ones who survived this first winter. Everybody would have laughed him off of the campfire, wouldn't they? They'd have said, you're nuts, you're crazy. So let's do it, let's look at it this way. 400 years from now, what would we want those people to say about us? What should we be doing today to change lives to be better in 2420? That's the question. We should be thinking not about ourselves, but we should be thinking about our children. We should be thinking our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. 11 generations out from now, that's what we should be thinking about. We can do this. We can change America back to what it was 400 years ago, what they came here for. A Christian nation built on the principles of the Bible, built for the success of all people, not just a few. That's what democracy and money is about. It's about everybody being successful to the greatest attainment God would want them to have. That's why I'm running for the state legislature. I am running as an independent, and I'm looking forward to meeting you someday. Thank you. Have a great day. Talk with you soon. Thanks.